Prowl 1701 here, and today we're going to talk about the very first female Doctor, and it was in a fan film, actually, that I got to watch recently that I was never even aware of. I'd never even heard about this, but one of my Patreons brought it to my attention, and it was in a fan film. I'm going to put on the glasses. It's so humbling I have to do that now. It was a fan film called The Wrath of, I don't know if that's pronounced Eukor. It's Eukor, but The Wrath of Eukor. I'm just going to say that. And it starred an actress named Barbara Benedetti as the Doctor. And I do believe she's the first female Doctor in any medium, even if unofficially. And I was watching this, and you can tell it was made a while back by the quality of the footage. And you can actually find this on YouTube. I'll leave a link in the description where you can find it on YouTube. Or maybe I'll just remember to put it up here. Or both. I remember looking at it, and it kind of reminded me of the 90s movies my friends and I used to make. We used to do these little goofy martial art movies when we were growing up and teenagers. And I got curious about it, so I looked it up. And it turns out it was made in 1984. Wow, I didn't even know people were doing fan films, especially Doctor Who fan films, in 1984. But it came out while Colin Baker was still the Doctor, which explains why at the beginning of the story, this new unofficial seventh Doctor, played by Barbara Benedetti, is wearing Colin's outfit, or what's supposed to be Colin's outfit, before dressing into her own outfit. And she even remarks that the fact she's a woman now is because of some trouble with the Matrix. I think she's regenerated so many times and recently that it caused an error that caused her to regenerate into a female. It's a good way in a time when the Doctor wasn't supposed to be able to change gender of regeneration to explain why the gender changed with her regeneration. I liked it. And then she meets a companion from like right after World War I think, that ends up traveling with her in the TARDIS, and then they end up in I'm not quite sure what time period they're in, but it's a little after the Vietnam War, because they end up in the forest. They encounter a reporter who's running for his life. He ends up getting killed. And then they run into some kind of Vietnam vets who are just hanging out in the forest. And then, of course, things get all Doctor Who-y and, alien stuff happens. I don't really want to spoil it. It's about half an hour. It's about 30 minutes long, and apparently they did about 4 of these. I'm only looking at the first one today. That's the only one I've watched so far, but apparently they did 4 of these in the 80s. This is the first one. It was hard to get through. And I don't want to say that because it sounds mean. It's very obviously a fan production. But you also have to take in context it was made in 1984, when a lot of people probably didn't have access to cameras to shoot these kind of movies. It was done by a group called Seattle International Films, reading it here, where she's, again, playing an alternate version of the Seventh Doctor. One of the things that's interesting is she carries an umbrella. And this takes place before the Seventh Doctor ever came out. So this original version of the Seventh Doctor here carries an umbrella, which is kind of neat because the official Seventh Doctor we would get 3 years later also carried an umbrella. And it's really hard to get through. It actually took me several days to get through this half-hour episode. Like, I watched like the first 10 minutes, and a couple days later about another 10 minutes, and then a couple days later like the last 10 minutes. I couldn't get it all in one viewing. The amateurish nature of some of the acting was a bit off-putting. The guy playing the companion, who I believe went on to be a really good writer. I think he wrote one of the Emmy Award-winning episodes for Batman the Animated Series, actually. He has rough spots. The guys playing the Vietnam veterans, there's a couple of them that are a little cringe-inducing. Barbara actually does a pretty good job as the Doctor for the most part. I actually really enjoyed her as the Doctor. I think she might be better than Whittaker in the role. And there's a couple moments that feel very Doctor Who, like when she's talking to one of the companions, or the guy who's kind of her companion. She kind of pats him on the shoulder or the back and walks off. And it feels like a very Patrick Troughton thing to do. It felt like a very Doctor thing to do. And then at one point, when her and the Vietnam veteran type characters are kind of finally kind of joined forces. She shows them the TARDIS, and the guy's looking at the police box going, oh, how are we going to get there? Fly? And it cuts to this shot of the Doctor just smiling. And the smile she has on her face at it is awesome. It's probably my favorite shot in the whole thing. It's awesome. Because it's very the Doctor. Well, how are we going to get there? Fly? And you just see her. It's great. She doesn't say anything. It's just that smile. And I loved that. That's very the Doctor. I really enjoyed that. And there's another part where when she's talking while holding the umbrella, she's tapping her finger on it. Like, it's a little detail where she's talking, she's got it kind of touching the ground, and she starts kind of tapping her finger on it. I really like that. It's a little thing, but I really enjoyed it. And there's a couple other times where she, like, pats people on the shoulders. There's definitely a few times where I think Barbara really pulls off being the Doctor. Like I said, she's not always perfect in the role, but there are definitely times where I was really impressed with her portrayal. I don't really get into her outfit that much. I don't know if she wears it in the other stories or just this one, but I didn't care for her outfit. But I liked a lot of what she was doing with the role. Again, keeping in mind it's a fan film. It's a very early fan film. And the quality of the footage is very rough, like very VHS rough. But I definitely think, especially for the time, for 1984, I think it's a pretty impressive feat. And while I find it a struggle to get through, I can say I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it partially for the story itself, but I think partially more just for the fact that it exists, the fact that fan films are being made at this time, the fact that we even had a female Doctor this early. And it actually had an explanation in the story why she's a female Doctor, that basically the regeneration had went wrong, was interesting. I don't know if any of you are aware of it, but it's definitely something to check out just if you want to really delve into more of the Doctor Who extended universe and just to see what fans can put together when they put their mind to it, even back in the 80s. So I want to know what you think of the wrath of Eukor and Barbara Benedetti as the Doctor. Comment down below and let me know. Other things to do, don't forget to click the like button and the subscribe button and the bell for notifications so you never miss out on another video. I also have a Patreon if you would like to support me on that. There is a link to that down in the description below. I want to give a shout out to some of my top tier patrons, Stephen Crane, Colin Coney, and Finn Perkins. I appreciate their support, as I do the support of all of my patrons. It does make a difference. I have a P.O. box down there if you want to send me anything to look at and review, and YouTube memberships are available as well. Most importantly, thank you for watching.